Welcome back, everybody, to WRPL, All Things Consumed. I'm Ben.
And I'm Steve.
And how are you doing, Steve?
Oh, I am just grand. Happy to be here. Happy to talk to my best buddy, Ben, about what's been going on in the world of movies, television, books, music, podcasts, all that good stuff.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
You see Sonny Chiba died?
I did not. But also, who's that again?
He's in Kill Bill. He makes the sword.
Oh, yes. Hattori Hanzo.
Hattori Hanzo, yeah. And it was due to complications from COVID, and I think he had pneumonia as well. So that sucks.
Do you know if he was, like, anti-vax, or if it was just, like...
No, that I don't know.
Yeah.
But he was, like, 83 or 86 or something.
Okay. Yeah.
He was pretty old. So that sucks. I mean, he was cool, but it's not like I know his filmography. You know, martial arts movies are not really
as far as I know,
my wheelhouse.
Did Kill Bill.
He did Kill Bill, and that's it.
That's all you need, though. Mm-hmm. Just one Tarantino movie, and you're golden.
So I guess this 3 of celebrities who died was the dude from Whitest Kids You Know.
Mm-hmm. Trevor Moore.
Yep. Marky Post from Night Court, and Sonny Chiba, which is, what a weird combo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a shame.
It's like God threw a dartboard on celebrities and just hit those 3.
I think it's a bingo rolling cage.
Okay.
And it's just every celebrity in there of any significance.
I mean, no offense to these actors, but scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of celebrity here.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get started. I'm gonna start.
Yeah, start us off.
I saw a new movie that was just released called The Nighthouse with Rebecca Hall.
Yep.
She is a widow. Her husband, who had built their house on the lake, took a rowboat out in the middle of the night and blew his brains out. So now she's getting over that, and she thinks, something's in the house. Is it her dead husband? Is it an evil force? Or is she just crazy? So it's just her kind of uncovering what's going on with her husband, the secrets that he kept. It's pretty entertaining. I think they could have gone a little more into some setup for the ending payoff.
Well, real quick, the trailer kind of like marketed it as a horror movie, but it didn't really seem particularly horror-ish.
Nah, suspense thriller. There's nothing really overly violent that I can recall. There's some shots of like bloody footprints and some corpses, but they're like wrapped in bags, so you can't even like see what was going on. There's just this kind of haunting dread, because early on she like hears a noise, and so she like opens up a door that has a glass in it, and in the reflection you just kind of see this shadowy face with like 2 little pinhole light eyes. And once she closes the door, like that basic shape is still there and the reflections are still there, but there's enough of non-reflective things that now kind of like wash it out. So it's like, oh, was that really a face looking at me, or was that just the background? And so they do that a lot of just like you're looking in through windows and behind the characters to see like when another spooky thing's going to come up, because they do some really good optical illusion forced perspectives. And I think and maybe you remember it from the trailer, but the best I could describe it, that picture where it's like 2 faces looking together and it's like, oh, there's a vase in the middle.
Yeah.
Well, if you took that silhouette of the face and it was like the crown edge of your crown molding or whatever, and it's on a pillar, and then as she's turning around it turns with the bookshelf and a coat hanging on thing, and then all of a sudden there's a silhouette of a person standing there, and then it will turn and look, and then she moves, and then it's gone because you're not at the right perspective. And they do that a bunch at the end, and it's really effective and really interesting.
I was going to say, that sounds cool.
Yeah. I think it could have used a little more scares working up to it, and the payoff is perfectly fine. I feel like they could have they needed to lean heavier into ambiguity or heavier into we actually have why this is happening. You get a little, and you're kind of left up to make some interpretations. But some things seem pretty locked in, but I had a good time. I don't know if it would be a movie I need to own. I would probably watch it one more time in a couple of years. It probably isn't going to do very well in the box office, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
All right, well, now let's get into spoiler territory, because I doubt I'll see this movie, so tell me all about it.
Sure. Okay. Well, it turns out she was in a car accident when she was younger and, like, rolled down a hill and died for, like, 4 minutes. But they were able to bring her back. She describes it as, well, she told everybody she didn't remember what it was like to be dead. But she said, you know how everybody sees a light at the end of the tunnel? Well, it's just tunnel. It's just nothing. But apparently something kind of came back with her. Mm-hmm. And it's never named. It starts kind of like torturing the husband, saying, I'm gonna take her unless you, like, almost make a sacrifice for me. Or, right. Really he's kind of like almost doing it to trick the demon. I guess the demon is so dumb or whatever. But he built or at least started to build a duplicate of their house, but backwards across the lake, kind of hidden in woods. And he's been going around finding women that look like Rebecca Hall and seducing them, bringing them back, and then, like, killing them as a sacrifice to this demon. And it kind of kept him satiated for a while. Mm-hmm. But he couldn't do it any longer, and it was too much for him, so he blew his brains out. But they also kind of lead it to believe that, well, maybe there isn't a demon. Maybe she is literally, like, a crazy person, and she killed her husband, and she's kind of like, it's just a mental illness, and she killed these women. Or, like, maybe she killed the women he found out, and then she had to kill him. I'm pretty sure it's just, like, a demon monster fucking with her. So, but they don't really explain his backstory. The demon talks, and it's just like, oh, I've been waiting for you, and I'm going to take you to be with me. But it's not like, well, are you a Bagul?
Did he sound just like that?
No, it just sounded like the husband.
That girl. Oh.
And it's just like they don't give it a Bagul or Valak name or anything like that, or she doesn't read a book and find out. But that's, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, in a certain sense, I guess I don't need demons to, like, have backstories or names. Like, sure, it's nice when there's, like, some context to your villain, but at the same time, like, I imagine, like, if I get possessed or something happens with a demon tomorrow, it's not like there's just gonna be a book that's just like, hey, what's your name again? And just like, we'll just have the information there. Like,
you don't know, there could be a book.
There could be, but I just, sometimes it makes more sense to a certain degree, like, demons aren't real.
And that's why I think if they want you to believe that maybe she's doing these fucked up things and she doesn't remember, that's why they didn't give the demon a name, because, well, there is no demon. It's just her.
Yeah.
I think they could have leaned on that a little more, but it really seems to go in the other way of, no, there was a demon, a presence of some sort that made her husband kill himself and is just fucking with her. She even almost has a sex scene with the ghost demon thing. Like, she could always, like, kind of feel his presence and stuff, and she's having a breakdown, and she sees, like, the word here written in, a foggy mirror. And so she's calling out to him, and she actually, like, reaches out and touches him, and you can, like, see it from the perspective of, like, the pads on her fingers actually physically pushing down on something, and she's able to hold. And she's just like, oh, honey, I'm so glad you're here. And it's like, I can't remember. Oh, I think his name's Owen. And it's just like, oh, I love you, Owen. And it's like, not Owen. So it's, like, kind of creepy, and then, like, pushes her up against the sink like he's going to rape her or something. But it doesn't happen.
It's not a sex scene, it's a rape scene.
Well, that's true, no. But, like, at first they're touching and it's romantic. And then he pushes her and stuff. I would say the romantic stuff lasts longer than the rapey stuff, so that's why I said sex scene.
Gotcha.
I can't remember how that ends, but there's a lot
now,
of...
like, the thing that she's touching, is it just, like, all
It's
black?
Invisible. You don't see anything. She's just holding on to something, and, like, its hand will go up her arm, and you'll see the skin move, but he's completely see-through. So there's some really good effects in it, and I think it's a pretty effective, and she's good at, like, walking that line of, am I crazy, or am I just kind of going crazy because of my loss?
Okay.
So, yeah.
Sounds like some interesting stuff.
It's not bad, yeah. I think it'd be a good first date movie for, especially if your lady gets scared easy. I think it'd be a good one.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever taken a first date to a horror movie. And not that it's going to happen now, but I don't think I ever had, like, an inkling to go, like, oh, I want her to get scared, and like, so I could be like there as a protector thing. I'd just be like, no, like I don't want to look like a wuss when I'm freaked out in the theater. So we're gonna go see a Talladega Nights or something.
So what have you been consuming?
So I went to a concert on Friday for bands I think, if I remember correctly, you have no interest in and probably hate. It was the Hella Mega Tour featuring Weezer, Fall Out Boy, and Green Day.
Oh, I mean, I like Weezer. I don't think anything ill of Green Day. Fall Out Boy I don't really give two shits about, but yeah, Green Day was like a big thing for... I mean, I never owned any of their albums or anything, but like when I was in junior high, yeah, that was like the hot shit.
Yeah. So in 2005, I was 15, and Fall Out Boy's second album came out, and it was the biggest album like in the world. Well, one of the two biggest albums. It was that and American Idiot. I think both came out the same year.
Nice.
And so Sugar We're Going Down was like the big thing. It was playing on MTV like constantly. And so that was, you know, in my formative years of high school. So that album led me to Fall Out Boy being my favorite band. I listened to that album a ton, and I bought all their other albums and listened to those a ton. So I was always a huge fan of them. I saw them in concert 3 times before this one. But I had never seen Green Day, and Green Day's American Idiot was obviously like the biggest album in probably the world at that time, or one of them. And it was like their resurgence, because like Dookie was big in the 90s, and then they kind of like made some other stuff and went away, and then like this came out and then just like shot into stratosphere again.
Because no one expected that type of music from them. Not that it was like so different, but it like actually had something more to say.
Yeah. But anyway, so I had never seen Green Day or Weezer in concert, and I was just like, and I've never really been a big fan of Weezer, not that I dislike their stuff. Like, they have songs that I've heard and I really like Say It Ain't So is a great song. But anyway, so bought tickets, and Weezer went on first. I mean, they had an opening act, the Interrupters, who were fine, but, you know, no one was there to see them. Like, everyone was, like, buying merch and, like, getting drinks and stuff, like, while they were playing
Still
pretty
parking
much.
their car.
Yeah, Weezer came on, and, like, what was cool is that each band did, like, a different visual aesthetic. Like, the stage wasn't the same every single time. Okay. So Weezer kind of went with, like, an 80s, like, neon synth kind of look, and the lead singer, Rivers Cuomo, has like grown out his hair into like essentially a mullet and had like a mustache on. So he doesn't look like the dorky... I mean, he looks dorky as like a 50-year-old man, like wearing like a leather jacket with a bunch of like metal studs on and stuff. He looked like if Marty McFly grew up and started dealing meth. Like that's what Rivers Cuomo looked like.
I can see it.
And I don't necessarily mean that as a negative. It was just like, that's just what I thought of. It's like, oh, Marty McFly like peaked in high school. Doc died and never got cool, so he's just been playing guitar and like trying to like relive his glory days. That's kind of what I imagined the look he was going for.
I went to the future one time. Yeah, sure you did, Marty.
But anyway, it was the first time I've ever seen them live, and they crushed. I was like, wow, I'm a big fan of Weezer now. Fall Out Boy came on, and you know they're like the young guys, and compared to they're all in their like mid 30s or whatever, I guess, or maybe late 30s. But they like grew up listening to Weezer and Green Day, and now like they're on tour with them, which is pretty cool. But their show went more with like a Twilight Zone horror aesthetic. Like they got Ron Livingston from Office Space to like do a video intro and outro for them, where Ron Livingston was kind of doing the Twilight Zone, like, you're about to embark on a journey with Fall Out Boy, and like did this whole spiel. And they had like a sort of like Cabin in the Woods kind of look on the stage, which was neat. Played all their hits. Basically all 3 bands, it was just like the greatest hits. Like they weren't playing like necessarily stuff from like their new albums, like Weezer more so than the other 2. But anyway, and then Fall Out Boy like crushed even more, and then Green Day came on, and it was like a totally different experience. Like if you've never seen Green Day, go see Green Day. Like, they didn't necessarily do anything special with their stage. Like, it was like they put up some different lights, but like they didn't have to do like a gimmick, because they were like, we're fucking Green Day. Like, we know you guys are here to see us. And And it was just like every song, essentially, unless it was like Wake Me Up When September Ends or or Time of Your Life, like every song felt like a finale of another rock show. Like, and it, like every song was just like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like the crowd work they did too, like everyone was just eating out of the palm of these guys' hands. Like everything Billy Joe did was just like, he just wanted the crowd to be like fully invested in their show. Like when Weezer was playing, it was still light outside, and they're like the aisles were clear. By the time Green Day came on, like everyone was just like moving. No one was in their seats anymore. Like everyone was just moving around so they could try and get like as close or as good a visual as possible, because like these guys are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They've been doing this for like almost 40 years together, and it's the same group essentially. And I mean, most of the songs they played were from the American Idiot album. Like they had a couple from Dookie, but it was the greatest night, or one of the greatest nights of my life, because especially like once Green Day came on, it was totally worth the money I paid for it. And if you can ever see Green Day, if you see any of these bands in concerts, you're gonna have a good time. But Green Day there's a reason they've been around this long and have been so like iconic. Whether you like pop punk or whatever, they are legends of rock and roll in my opinion. And just go see them if you can. It was
your favorite concert of all time?
Absolutely.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
What did it dethrone? What was the best concert until then?
So I am not a big concert goer. So I saw Fall Out Boy 3 times, like I said. So probably, like the first time was special because it was like my first real concert. But I wouldn't say that was their best show, probably their second show. But I've also seen Childish Gambino 3 times in concert. And the first time I saw Childish Gambino, it was like before he even dropped like his first real album. Like he had sort of mixtapes and stuff like that. But he did stand up for like half an hour beforehand. And so like that was fun because it was like, oh, I got to see his comedy side and then him jump into his rap side. And the second 2 times I saw him, I was like drunk. So I barely
remember one of those nights.
Yeah, I barely remember those shows.
He just showed up at the bar, like hopped out of her car and we're like, oh, there's Steve. Like, I just saw Childish Gambino. Cool.
Yeah. So probably the second time I saw Fall Out Boy was probably the best show. But yeah, it was different and it was great.
Cool. Sounds like a good time. Where was this?
Citizens Bank. It's where the Philadelphia Phillies play baseball. So
nice thing about having to travel to Philly for some sports event or concert, like the stadiums are like on the outskirts, so you're like you're really close. You don't have to like get all the way through the city or center city to get to them. It's just like right there off the freeway.
And we stayed for the entire show. Like I had like kind of seen some stuff on YouTube of their shows that people have been posting, so I knew like what song was like the second to last song and what was the last song. So and it kind of like sucked because the second to last song is like my favorite song from Green Day. So I was like, I'm gonna stay till I hear this because I might never see this band again. Yeah. And so like they started playing their last song and I was like, all right, let's get the fuck out of here so we can try and get to the car. Even then, like my sister had to like use the bathroom, so by the time it was just like everyone was like mad dashing out because everyone was trying to leave at the same time. But we I don't know, we were able to get out like real easy.
Nice.
Like we were in the parking lot for less than 10 minutes and we were already like back on the main road, and it was really easy to get out, which was nice. The thing I didn't mention though is it rained at the show at one point. That was kind of a bummer, but it didn't rain long enough to where it was just like miserable. And I was just having such a good time, like I didn't care. Like if it rained the entire time, I would have stayed the entire time.
All right.
So it was great show.
All right. I watched a couple of small fan films, and they're all on the same subject and created by the same people. They were Friday the 13th fan films. First one is called Jason Rising, Never Walk Alone. No, I'm sorry, Never Hike Alone, and Never Hike in the Snow. And they're all kind of released at different times, and they've kind of like mashed the 2 hiking ones together to be more of a cohesive story.
I was going to say, like, it's kind of weird that they made 3 films and it was the same people, and they went with 2 movies that both have hiking in it.
Yeah, and there's going to be a like Never Hike Again is part 3 that they're still working on.
And then if you're doing them together,
yeah.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure Jason Rising is, I'm kind of confused because it seemed like a lot of the same people worked on it, whereas like the writer of Jason Rising directed the other ones and played Jason, but they had a different actor playing Jason in this. So I was confused why they didn't try to connect that one to these other ones. Pretty much, it's a lot of fan service. Some characters from previous Friday the 13th come back and like, oh, this was just a deputy. Now he's the sheriff, and this, the young girl from the first one who cut off Pamela Voorhees' head, she comes back at the very end to save the day in one of them. They're very fun. The Jason Rising one is a little more typical, where there's 3 escaped convicts and the cops are trying to get them, and they run into Crystal Lake to hide, and then Jason kills everyone. It's a little what you would expect from a reboot. Not that it was bad, but it still looked good gore, but not as good as the other two.
I'm sorry if you said it, but these films, were they like full-length things, or they were like 20 minutes?
No, Jason Rising was like 55 minutes.
Oh, okay. That's still a long time.
The Never Hike in the Snow was like 30, and then the Never Hike Alone was like 45.
Okay.
So the Never Hike in the Snow is just a police character from one of the previous movies who knows what's going on with Jason. He's just investigating this kid, this photographer who's new into town. Discovered Crystal Lake, all run down, runs into Jason. Jason takes his axe to his face, and then he's trying to cover it up and keep the mom quiet, and then there's a deputy trying to find him, and it's a really good opening to a movie if you took like the first 10 minutes of a movie and stretched it out a bit more, because normally like this kid would die and then cut to the actual characters that we're supposed to follow. It's our opening scare. The second one was Never Hike Alone, and it's a YouTube survivalist, extreme hiking, camping sort of character. Okay. And he's by himself, and he's just kind of like, look, I'm trying to get through this lake and do this. Oh, I find this secret path that says no trespassing. We're going to check it out. And it's him like kind of just recording things around Crystal Lake, and you're seeing like little tags of where people were killed in previous movies, like from the like the cops tagging where the bodies were, and like there's an old Playboy that is in one of the previous movies, and just like a lot of fun nods. And Jason's just been living there with his mom's head and bodies all around him, and it's kind of fun because it's just one person versus Jason, so you don't get a ton of kills. There's a couple of like dream sequences that he thinks he's getting killed, but oh no, he's safe from the ambulance, and then they kill the ambulance driver and stuff like that. But that one was really good because it was good at building tension, good camera work. Jason was very intimidating. They're really fun, and the thing I liked about the Never Hike in the Snow is we never get to see Jason in other environments besides space or going to Manhattan, which is only like the last bit of that movie. It's always a summer camp, and I get it. That's the premise, but it would have been nice if what if Crystal Lake got remodeled and it was a like ski resort, and having Jason in the snow is like a really intimidating figure, and then you get the blood on the snow and that looks cool. It just adds a little bit of variety to the Friday the 13th, and I'm surprised. Well, I'm not surprised because they always try to crank those movies out as quick as they can and as cheap as they can, and filming in the snow is always more expensive. But it's a shame we haven't seen it because it really is striking seeing him in a snow-covered woods.
Well, yeah, that's kind of my thing, is that I would like to see... I mean, I'm not the biggest horror guy, but it seems like with these older franchises that just never seem to die, maybe they just should. They never really try and reinvent the wheel, just because it's like, we don't need to make this good. We just need to put this name on it, and it'll make money. And I get that. I guess you could argue, well, they tried to do something new by sending Jason to space, and like that was terrible. But like that probably wasn't anything that should have existed anyway.
Yeah, but it's a fun movie. Jason X is a great time. It's so ridiculous because it looks like he's on like the worst like sci-fi show, like Cleopatra 2929 or Lex or something like that. It's like so cheap, and everyone's such bad actors, but there's a lot of kills, and it's Jason X is a fun movie.
Okay. Of the like 80s era murder or slasher film guys, who's your favorite?
I like, and
why?
Of the main there's the main three: Freddy, Jason, and Michael Myers.
Right.
I mean, you could add like Leatherface and stuff, but he's different because I guess all of them.
I mean, I would include Leatherface. And
you would? Okay.
I'll even include. It's not the 80s, but if you like Scream, just like any of these iconic horror things that have had like 12
Chucky,
of them.
Pinhead.
Yeah.
You know, all those. It was always Freddy. Freddy was the most creative because it wasn't just a guy that is in a mask trying to kill you. You could see his face. He talked to you. He taunted you. And he always killed people in really fun ways of like turning him into a cockroach or picking him up and slamming him in TV, where with Michael Myers, who is the worst one. Halloween's a fine horror film and it's very effective, but Michael Myers is a boring monster. He just stabs people. It's nothing special. And not
I get the
boring.
idea of it being scary because it is just a dude who's a maniac, but I feel like that was effective for the first one. And then after that, well, it's just like, also, Freddy is my favorite, but that's only because he's the only person I've really seen movies of.
Okay.
Like, I saw the original Nightmare, and I saw the remake with Jackie Earle Haley.
Okay.
And then I saw Freddy vs. Jason when I was like 14 or 15.
Love that movie.
I count and I don't. I'm just talking in terms of like actual canon, if there really is any.
Yeah.
And then I saw the remake of Mike Myers, or not, of Halloween from like a couple years back. Yeah, it's just like Freddy Krueger is an actual monster with like powers, even though he was like an original dude, so he's cool.
Yeah.
Where like everyone else started out as, oh, they're humans, like Leatherface, him, like. So that's scary because it's just like you're in this terrifying real life situation, and then they all become these immortal, unkillable beings, and it's like, well, that's not fun anymore. Especially when you've made them unkillable monster people for 12 other movies. You're just repeating the same stuff. Yeah. Like if you're gonna make them do that kind of thing, that's fine. But like, yeah, like you said, like put them in the snow, put them in different situations, put them in, I don't know, send them back in time. I don't anything. Yeah. I just don't need to see the same movie where it's like, oh, you shot him in the chest 50 times. Is he a dude? Yeah, he's just a dude. Oh, but he's gonna get back up and try and kill you again. It's like, fuck those people.
Yeah. I think they fail with Michael Myers because they never had one mythology locked down. Oh, is Laurie his sister? Oh, no, that was just a lie. Oh, is it part of a witch demon sort of summoning thing? Oh, well, no, that's not true either. Like, they can never nail down what it was supposed to be. So him constantly coming back, you have to just believe, well, he's just a dude and I don't believe it. Where with Jason, after he always comes back in like crazy ways of like, they dug up his body, he was dead, but lightning struck it, and now he's back alive. Okay, cool. That's all I need to know. He's a super mega zombie, and he's just going to constantly keep coming back. He's more like a Deadite from Evil Dead, where it's like, it doesn't matter how many times you shoot or cut him or whatever, unless you like cut off his head, he's going to come back. Jason is like close to being number one just because he has so many movies, you know what you're getting into, and like all of his deaths can be relatively simple, but they're just like so much fun, and it's one of the few times you root for Jason because all the kids are just like terrible, horrible people and you want them to die. So you're on Jason's side, whereas like Freddy, he's the villain. You want him to fail, you want the kids to live, even though you do want to see the kills. It's just a lot more fun to cheer for Jason.
I only saw Freddy vs. Jason once, I believe, but didn't they kind of like make Jason the hero character? Like hero-ish?
He's the sympathetic one.
Yeah.
Just because they really play into, he drowned because the counselors were doing drugs and having sex and not paying attention, and Freddy was one of those camp counselors at the time.
Oh, really? That's what they went with?
I think
that's fun.
It's a hint, and they don't outright say it because every time they show things like that, it's like in the dream world, so you don't really know what's real and what's not. But I know, like, in the writing process, they wanted that, but they didn't outright say it. I like it. You know?
I mean, I guess if you're gonna make Freddy Krueger a pedophile character, like, why wouldn't
he work at a summer camp?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's cool. Yeah, okay.
But yeah, he's more sympathetic just because, like, he was like physically and mentally challenged, and he was just haunted by seeing his mother's death and bulked up to a big zombie monster and sees his mom telling him to kill everyone. So that's what he does.
You know, well, that's a great idea for a sketch, I think. It's like, I want to see a young Jason Voorhees, like, do the Special Olympics and, like, get huge and do the Special Olympics and just, like, crush whatever competition. They're like, wow, this kid's great. And then you do whatever. I'm not sure what the sketch is.
Yeah.
Maybe I have to delete this whole conversation.
He shows up looking all weird like he did before when he drowned, and he fails at everything, and they laugh at him, and, like, even the other, handicapped kids are laughing at this guy. Like, for a handicapped kid, like, you're really bad. So then he goes through his mom dies, he drowns and stuff, and he's like, I'm gonna get back. And you see him in the forest, like, working out and bulking up and stuff, and that's
just deadlifting tree trunks
and comes back to the Special Olympics a few years later, and they're just like, wow, Jason, you got real swole.
I mean, I know his, like, big thing is a machete. But it's like...
But he uses everything.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what if he did go to the special... He's like, now he's got javelins. He's, like, just...
Shot putting into kids' heads.
Like, blowing dudes' faces up with the shot put, yeah.
It'd be so funny, because, like, one of the funny things about him and Michael Myers is, like, he just... Like, Michael Myers is relatively slow when he's walking. Jason will kind of power walk. But if you're running, you should be able to outrun him. But he's always gets ahead of you and pops out from around a tree. I could see them doing, like, the 100-meter dash. And everyone's, go! And he's just, like, walking. And they're all looking behind, like, that idiot. And they turn around and he's, like, right at the finish line and chops off their head. Or he just crosses the line or something. Just, like, use all those fun horror tropes, but put it in the Special Olympics.
Yeah.
It's like Friday the 13th meets The Ringer.
Which, anyone who hasn't seen The Ringer, see it.
Yeah.
It's actually, like, funny and adorable, I think.
Yeah.
Even though, like, it might be slightly dated now.
Yeah, especially when you have handicapped people and then not handicapped people playing handicapped people. Yeah. I mean, I guess they all felt it was okay. Or if they were like, wow, this guy does a really good impression of us.
I mean, I remember seeing interviews where they said, like... They, like, brought this movie to the Special Olympics, like, commission, and they, like, gave it the go-ahead. They're just like, this represents what we're trying to say and what we're trying to do well. And, like, we get that it's, like, a comedy and, like, it's not making fun of anybody. Sure. It's just, like,
But if it was just Johnny Knoxville playing a handicapped person, I could be okay with it. But there are people on the squad that are not handicapped playing handicap, and I think that's a little distasteful.
Yeah. What I will say about those people, though...
they're selling it.
They're really selling it. I mean, maybe that's because, like, I don't know any better. But, like, Johnny Knoxville just seems like a bad actor doing, like, a bad impression of a handicapped person. Or and then these other people, I didn't know they weren't until, like, years later when I, like, saw them in, like, kind of other stuff. And I was like, wait, where do I know that guy from? And I looked up, I was like, oh, he was that guy? Really?
Did they find a cure? What is going on?
So anyway, watch The Ringer.
But also, these fan films, they're really fun. Good gore, good acting for the most part. If you like Friday the 13th and seeing Jason kill people, they're on YouTube. Easy to Google.
Cool.
So what have you been consuming? Have you been watching anything else or reading anything else?
Watching. Brooklyn Nine-Nine came back.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk about that once the season ends, I think. Probably go, like, episode by episode.
Sure. Since it's relatively short. Also, I think maybe, like our Dave episode, we can do What If. I love this last episode of What If. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, see, I was not particularly excited about What If, and we'll go over this when we talk about the season. And the episodes that I've seen, I've liked, but also, like, I don't know if I care that this particular thing exists. Like, I like the idea and I like the things that they're showing, but I don't know if I would just like it more in a I don't necessarily know if I want to see it in a cartoon format, or at least in this style of cartoon.
But weren't you complaining about how every new Marvel thing, you have to watch it because you have to be updated on all of its continuities because the next thing may not make sense? Isn't this the perfect thing for you because you don't have to continue watching anything else? These are small standalone stories that won't affect the bigger picture.
No, I mean, that's not the issue I have with it. I think my issue with it is that I just think because it's a lot of these same actors reprising their roles, it's like I've seen you in just one form, and I want to, if I'm going to see you, I want to continue to see you in that same space. And also I just think that while the episodes are cool and I like what they're doing and I like the ideas they have in it and I think they're done really well, I just think like I want more time in this world. And not that everything needs to be spoon-fed to me, but it just seems like we're just going super fast and like knocking this out because like you basically know how these things get here.
I think this one, the pacing was a bit better than the first one, though.
Oh, for sure. I would agree with that. But the things in this one, they're just like glossed over, and well, like I said, we'll get to it when we talk more about it. I don't need everything spoon-fed to me. I get like, this is what we're trying to say, or this is what we're trying to do. You don't need you need to know all the ingredients, but like, I'll just say the Thanos thing. I was just like, well,
what did he say?
How? That doesn't make any sense to me. And the fact that like he's still kind of just like, it's a good idea, but he was right. It's like, wait, so this guy's still like a bad person? I won't get it.
I love that. I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
I'm not saying it's not fun. I'm not saying I like I said, I like all the ideas.
That just shows how much of a piece of shit Peter Quill was. He didn't do anything for the world, but T'Challa, he was like bred to be a diplomat, to be a king. So I think it totally works that he can convince all these people.
And I can buy that. We'll talk about it another time.
All right, yeah. We can do a whole episode on that.
But yeah, so Brooklyn Nine-Nine, been watching. I'm glad it's back. It makes me sad this is the final season. I'm glad they gave it one more season, even though it's kind of like, we're giving you 2 episodes a week. We're just going to push it out. In 5 weeks, it's over and done with. But I'd rather have that than nothing at all. And especially since they knew this was the final season, I imagine they'll wrap it up really well. So, and it's still just as funny, even though that this season, other seasons they've tackled like serious subjects within the police force. And I know I read that, they threw out scripts after all this stuff with the police was happening and everything, and just like, okay, well, we can't not say anything about it. And I think what they've been doing is taking serious matters and turning it and making it funny enough to where it's like not trying to necessarily shove anything down your throat, but not avoiding it altogether too.
Absolutely.
All these characters are just so funny and a delight to watch, and consistently makes me laugh out loud, and I will severely miss this show. So, I've been reading a comic book you let me borrow and recommended to me called Sex Criminals. The book is about, for those who don't know, well, it starts off with a woman who finds out that she can stop time whenever she orgasms. She finds out when she's a young girl and she masturbates for the first time, is discovering herself and going through all the sort of like normal things a teenage girl goes through, but trying to figure out like why this happened and if like other girls, it happens to other girls too. As far as she knows, she's the only one. Then she grows up and she meets a guy at a party and they hook up and they both orgasm, and this guy like doesn't freeze in time, and he's like, wait, you can do this too? And so it's this cute little funny thing where it's just like, okay, this is the only person I've ever met who can like do this, and they just kind of essentially fall in love, and he hates his job, and it's like he works for a bank, and a bank that he's working for is trying to shut down a library that she volunteers at, or a bookstore. And so they're gonna rob the bank, and they fuck a lot in order to like get the plan right, and and the use of freezing time is done in a lot of like fun silly ways and stuff. I mean, the whole idea of just ejaculating and freezing time is fun. Yeah, there's some quality jokes in there, and it surprised me how like silly it leaned into, and like the characters kind of like talk to the audience too about the whole thing, and it talks about sex in a funny way, it talks about their situation in a funny way, and both characters kind of have dark backstories and sort of mental illness issues, and like trying to deal with that while also having the ability to basically having a superpower. And then you also meet these time cops essentially. But in the very first volume, you're not quite sure if they're real time cops or not. Yeah, it's cool. And I was concerned about, I wasn't sure if I was going to be into this comic, and it surprised me how much I enjoyed it. And I really want to read the other volumes.
Yeah, and it's not just some pervy, let's look at naked cartoon sort of story. It does have nudity in it, but it's not...
It's very sparse.
Yes.
Sparse, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you liked it. I picked it up randomly, and I will not randomly pick up the next one.
It reminded me, and I think part of the reason why I liked it so much too was like it reminded me of me and my fiance in a lot of ways, because even like the looks of the characters kind of reminded me of me and my fiance, where it's like a shorter curly-haired or dark curly-haired girl who like loves books and libraries, and that's 100% my fiance, who's a kind of shortish dark curly-haired girl who reads books nonstop. And then and then the boyfriend is a tall, glasses-wearing sort of nerd, and like talks about playing D&D and stuff like that, who may have ADHD, or who has ADHD, and I don't know if I have it, but I've been told I may have it. But anyway, just their relationship reminded me a lot of me and my fiance, and I thought that was kind of funny, even though we're nothing like these necessarily people, and we're not these people, but it reminded me of us.
Are you gonna have her read it? Do you think she would enjoy it?
As soon as I was reading, I was like, I think you should check this out. I think you get a kick out of it. Like I said, I think the characters are similar-ish to us, so we'll see.
She agree? Did she say she would?
I don't remember, to be honest. I think she was like, oh, okay, that sounds cool, but I'm not sure if that was just being polite.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think she'll read it though.
Okay, cool.
Because I mean, the first volume took me like an hour to read. Yeah, it's not super long.
Not a tough read. Yeah, take your time. Take as long as you need with it. And as soon as I get the other ones, I'll let you borrow them.
Cool.
Well, I've been watching a new show that is still playing on air, I guess, best way to put it. The season's not over. Season 2 is not done. So I'm only halfway through Season 2, but it's Ted Lasso with Jason Sudeikis. And it is just one of the most fun, wholesome, adorable shows I've watched in a long time. I'd say probably since like The Good Place.
Okay.
But Good Place is darker than this, for sure.
Okay.
So pretty much the premise is a woman who owns a soccer team. She got the team in a divorce with her cheating husband. So he's rich and sleeping with young girls and stuff, and she has his team. She fires the coach and hires Ted Lasso from America, who's never taught soccer before, but he's really good at like boosting morale and getting the team to work together. He doesn't have like an incredible winning streak or anything, but he's able to turn teams around. And he's a big Ned Flanders looking goofy dude. Always has like...
Is he left-handed?
Actually, he is. Oh, really? He is, yeah. That's funny. And he always has like, funny phrases and just like Southern idioms to say. They can get a little annoying at times, but
I'm sorry, because like the soccer team is in England, correct?
Yes. Okay. They're the Greyhounds. Oh shit! What's the Birmingham Greyhounds? Man, I just
someplace in England.
Yeah. I watched like 15 episodes of this. Don't even know the team's name. So Coach Laszlo and his assistant coach, Coach Beard, they come to England and to teach, but then it turns out she doesn't really want to try to change the team at all. She's trying to make the team look so bad because this was her husband's like pride and joy, so she wants to run it into the ground to make him feel like shit. But because everybody is like such a nice person that she wants to be the bad guy so much, but everyone's so infectious that she turns around and wants the team to do better because, well, you want Ted Laszlo to succeed. I keep calling it Ted Laszlo. God, Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso. You want him to succeed because he's just like such an optimist, and there are some heavy topics, like he's going through a divorce and he has a kid and stuff like that, but it's relatively light and everybody knocks it out of the park. Juno Temple's in it, and she's just like the pretty model girlfriend of the hotshot player. She's getting all the endorsements for the players, and she starts dating a different member named Roy, and Roy's like one of the standout characters. He's just like the old head of the team. He was a hotshot when he was young, but now he's a bit older, he's a bit slower than everyone, and he just like has a fiery temper and just growls at people. But he's one of the first people to kind of see that Ted has a way with the team, even though he never wants to be like the warm and fuzzy person. You know, he has like a niece who like looks up to him and loves him and stuff, and even if he calls her a little shit or whatever, like she just eats it up because she knows Uncle Roy is a nice person at heart, even though he is real gruff.
So like the team isn't sort of this, you know, water boy, mud dog football group of ragtag like a-holes that he comes in and makes them good people. They are all like just good people who just happen to be on a crappy team.
There's one guy named Jamie Tart. He's the next up and coming superstar, and the only reason they ever score goals is because of him. But he's like a ball hog, and he thinks he's the best, and everybody else is shit. So the team is kind of fractured because they're not a family. They're just kind of stuck with each other.
Yeah.
But when Ted comes in and is able to teach them lessons and stuff like that, he's able to get them, like they all kind of shit on he's called the Kit Boy. His name's Nathan. He like, you know, gets their towels for them and cleans their shoes and stuff. They all treat him like shit, but once Ted like starts listening to his ideas, they start listening to his ideas also, and then they start respecting him more, and then they all start becoming a bigger family. It is just wonderful. And if you have Apple TV Plus,
I might just have to come over to your house and watch it, because like I've heard good things about it, but just from the only thing I really knew about it was like it was a comedy with Jason Sudeikis, and he like is a coach of a soccer team. Like I didn't know anything else about it, and hearing all that, like I'm intrigued by that because you know, thinking about shows like Parks and Rec and The Good Place and all that, it's like I wish there was more shows that was all about like optimism and positivity and like teaching good lessons. Yep. And that sounds like something that would be right up my alley. This
is absolutely that, for sure.
Great.
Everybody around him is great too. There's not a bad character. Yeah, Ted Lasso, Apple TV Plus.
I feel like there has to be something else I've watched or played. Oh, well, I basically beat I'm going to say I beat it, even though I haven't. I finally beat Skyward Sword.
Oh, cool.
So when I say I basically beat, I'm at the final boss, and I fought him once, and I was like, I know I can beat this guy. It's not like a particularly hard fight. The problem is, like, you need this unbreakable shield to really beat him, unless you're just like an amazing player, which I am not. And the only way to get this amazing shield, or this unbreakable shield, is to do this like defeat the 8 previous bosses you beat early in the game back to back in this like challenge thing. And like they've definitely been toned down so they're a bit easier to defeat. Like I've gotten to 7. Like I've done this thing like 5 times in 2 different plays, 2 different days, and I always get to like the final boss and like just fuck up in the last second, and I just refuse to like do that anymore. I mean, I'm sure I will, but I just got so frustrated, and it's like it just sucks because like I put like 40 hours in this game. I'm at the final boss. Like I know I can beat him. I just don't want to go through like, because each time you play it, it's at least like 20 minutes of just like boss fights. And I just don't want to do it anymore. So I'll say that I beat the game and I enjoyed it.
Do you think you could beat the final boss without this shield? Do you think you could?
So there's like other shields you can get. It's not like, and I tried, because I was like, all right, because originally I tried getting the unbreakable shield, just to like get it. And then when I failed twice, I was like, all right, well, let me see if I can just fight the boss with just a different type of shield that can break, but whatever. And so you can also upgrade shields, and I just got like sort of the base form of like the second to best shield, and he broke it like so quick. So the thing about the final boss is he's strong.
It's Ganon, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, okay. Or Ganondorf, or whatever form of him.
Yeah.
I mean, in this game, he's called Demise. So, I mean, but he's a big, bulky...
Pig monster?
Not pig monster. He looks like a bulkier Ganondorf. Okay. He's, like, huge. And he's got the flowing red hair and everything. Like, it's him. But in this game, they just call him Demise. Because this is the first chronological story of Zelda. But anyway, enjoyable game. But once again, it's essentially every other Legend of Zelda game, going to temples over and over again. The worst part about it is just like you have to do 3 zones like 3 different times. And it's like, okay, well, like it would have been nice to have a little bit more variety and differential stuff. Like the sky stuff is cool. Like I would have been more happy to see more worlds in the sky or something that would be different, where like you really only have like the base in the sky and the rest of the game you just play like normally. So I'm 99.99% through that game, but I'm saying I beat it. So.
Are you gonna beat it, or are you gonna put it down for a bit?
Well, I started playing Sleeping Dogs, and I think I'm just gonna like take my time, and just whenever I'm like in the mood to just jump back in, I'll play it. But I feel like at this point I've beaten the game, so it's like I'm not in any rush. Just like beat this boss. So, and I can, if I really wanted to, I could just look up the ending on YouTube.
Cheater!
Who cares?
I would do it too.
Yeah. I'm basically missing a cinematic. Is all I've...
and a trophy. Wait, does Nintendo...
No, Nintendo doesn't do trophies.
Oh. Well, they are considered like the casual gaming thing, so it's not... That makes sense for them.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, well, that was what we were watching, reading, playing, listening to, all the things we were consuming. If you want to hit us up on our socials, it's WRPLpodcast@gmail.com or WRPL on Twitter. Oh, I'm sorry, WRPL Podcast on Twitter. If you have questions, if you have ideas, you have something you want us to watch or play, or, you know, anything you think we may enjoy, hit us up. And maybe we'll read your letter or tweet. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you later.